Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, welcome to Tatami Talk. My name is Juan. This is my Chikomi partner, Anthony. It is a judo podcast for judo players by two judo players. So, Anthony, how you doing? You doing okay?
Are you going to ask me that every episode?
Every episode, man. I want to know how you're doing, buddy.
We shouldn't have started this podcast during COVID because every time it's like, how are you doing? Like, I don't know. It's just kind of stayed at home and drank beers.
Oh. Oh, my God. So every production I work on, I have to get a COVID test now. So this week I've got my brain scratched 3 times. All right.
Did it scratch that itch?
Oh,
are you losing brain cells?
I got a deep itch in there. I got a deep itch. Well, if people noticed today, we actually had an opening theme song for the first time in a while. One of our old judo members of Hollywood Judo, Donald Richard, he does a lot of musical stuff. He lives in New Orleans now. Actually did a song for us, or he gave us one of his songs. And if you like it, please check him out. You can check out his stuff on his YouTube channel or his Instagram. And it's just Donald Richard with a T. I'm going to put the description on my end. I'll put on on my Twitter and Instagram.
I'll put it on a description for this video too.
Great. Put on a description of the video as well. Please check him out if you like his stuff. I know he does some concerts out there as well. I can't remember what his band's name is, but it's cool that a judo player helped us out, you know? So we have a new opening theme and a new closing theme.
Okay. Wait, we're using it both for opening and closing?
Why not? I don't know.
Okay. All right. I like the song a lot. It's a lot better than the one I paid for. But yeah.
Oh, you know what's a funny thing about it? That he's telling me, he's like, "Hey, Juan, if you don't like the song that much, I can make it a little more Asian feeling for you." It's like, dude,
what?
Don't give me that stuff. I just want a good song.
No, that song was pretty good.
A good opening song, and it's fine what you gave me.
I actually can't wait to edit this podcast and see what it sounds like.
Excellent. So there's also a little bit of judo news coming out right now. So how in last episode we talked about how judo's coming back to normal. We're going to get some tournaments in the US. Guess what? Ain't no tournaments happening really. So pretty much every tournament they had scheduled, from the Youth Nationals to the USA Nationals to the Kata National, the American Nationals, everything got canceled. Everything got canceled and rescheduled to location, or they got canceled and with no opening dates. The only thing that got rescheduled fully that I know of and that I saw earlier today was that the President's Cup is getting moved to November. So instead of Reno happening, they're going to do, so instead of there being the USA Nationals in Reno, that got moved again. So they're going to do the President's Cup is going to be now the USA Nationals as well. So how it's going to work is that, so if you're in the adult competitors, you're going to be competing at the USA Nationals. If you're a junior or a youth competitor, you're going to be doing the President's Cup. So it's still going to be a 2-day or 3-day tournament. I'm not sure exactly. They didn't put down how many days it's going to be.
It's going to be around the same time as a Grand Slam then.
It's going to be November. Let me see right here. November 22nd. Yeah, November 22nd.
Yeah.
It's be real close to that time. So that's going to be kind of interesting that everything got canceled again because of COVID. And now next year's tournament is going to be November 22nd. So now
next year?
Yeah, next year.
Okay.
Not this upcoming November. This one got canceled. And it's going to be, hold on, let me check actually real quick. Yes, for next year, November, I believe. Let me look at my sheet right here. It's going to be, yeah. Oh no, this year's 2020, not 2021 actually.
Like, why would they? It makes no sense to be like, we're doing next year in November, this date, when they probably haven't even booked the venue yet. You know, usually they announce it like 2-3 months before. But
yeah, so that's my bad. So yeah, so the National President's Cup, that's going to be November 22nd in Irvine, Texas this year, which would be again centrally located. So everybody come to Texas from the coast. It was going to be very interesting. So if you're an adult,
the spot that they hold the tournament at is actually pretty nice, and it has some nice restaurants in the area.
Oh yeah,
actually, yeah, and this hotel around there is really nice. I enjoyed staying there.
Yeah, I heard it's really close walking distance, like only a few minutes.
From the hotel, no, it's probably like a 10-minute walk, but
10-minute walk.
I would drive. I wouldn't.
No, because I know some members. What was it? A couple years ago that went to it. They just walked there. They just walked.
You can walk, but it's not a close walk. It's in the Irvine Convention Center.
It's a good warm-up walk.
Yeah, I actually went to this local bar pub kind of place to eat afterwards, and this guy was like, you're this guy in a heavy Texas accent. It's like, you're clearly not from here. I'm like, what do you mean I'm not from here? and then I told him about the judo tournament. He actually got interested, and he asked me like what judo was, and then I was like, oh, you should go watch. But then he found out that particular senior national you had to pay money to get in to watch.
Yeah.
So he didn't really watch it, but he sounded like he was interested. So.
Well, I know last year in Vegas they had to pay to get there too. You had to pay to watch that one as well.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
Didn't have a lot of stands though.
Yeah.
Yeah. So.
Anyway.
So yeah, that's a very interesting situation. So I guess if you're an adult and you want to compete in President's Cup, you can't this year. I don't know how you're going to get your points, how the points are going to work out this year from it. But yeah, youths are going to President's Cup. Adults, it's going to be the USA Nationals.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but I think a lot of the Team USA athletes don't even show up to it, the Nationals.
No, I've never seen them.
I've only seen one or two of them.
Yeah, from when I've gone, I've seen them there, take photos, hang out, support judo. I've never seen them compete. I've never seen any of them compete at the USA Nationals.
That kind of speaks a lot about the state of judo here, I think.
Well, it's a weird thing. It's to get on a national team. I don't know how it works exactly, but you got to get the points to get there, and then they still got to vote you on the team.
Yeah, and it's interesting that you said that, because the last episode of Dave Roman's Judo Chop Suey podcast, he actually interviewed a guy that was on the national team before called Ajax.
Yeah. And
if you guys haven't heard it before, that episode, I highly recommend you go listen to it. He interviews him and he talks about how they change the requirements to make the team every year, and it's like super subjective, and he kind of gives an insight into what it's like being on a team, and which isn't very positive. Let's just say that. So go ahead and check out the podcast and give it a listen if that's something that interests you.
Yeah, the only reason I know a little bit about it because I had a member a few years ago that wanted to qualify for the Olympic team. Well, not Olympic team, but qualify for the national team as an adult, not as a junior, nothing to get grandfathered in.
You mean
like
like masters?
No, as he wants to be part of the adult team, not the junior team. Because one way I hear about it is that if you get part of the junior team or the cadets team, it's easier to grandfather yourself up into the team. But as an adult, what you have to do is that you have to first get the points, and then once you're on the team, even though if like you're not ranked number 1 in the nation, they still might not make you part of the national team to go compete internationally. Until you beat that person, that block, until you beat that person, take that spot. Okay. And if you beat them, they still might not vote you into that spot. That was back then. I don't know how it is now, like I said.
So don't quote me, but he said it used to be if you just win the senior nationals and you're on the team. That's basically what it used to be. But he's saying now it's something like subjective where, and for a while it was subjective, like you had to go to like do well in Pan Ams or something like that. But now they're using some other system. I don't remember. Don't quote me on it, but yeah.
We weren't ready for this one today. We're going to talk about how tournaments got canceled, but it's a rabbit hole.
We said we would keep it short, but we're already like drifting into other topics.
Going long.
So,
all right. So that's what's happening with us right now. So without further ado, let's get to part 2 of our interview with our friend Richard. Now, then this part of the interview, we're going to be talking about how they were in Japan, how they competed, how they went to, oh God, I can talk right now. How they went to Japan. I wish they competed when they were out there, somehow snuck on the mat. Yep. But how they went to different dojos, practiced, how Richard actually went to a really high competition dojo with a former sensei of ours, Sensei Moss, and just had an awesome experience meeting people, doing judo, and just traveling the country.
Yeah, and also if you like this kind of content, I personally want more feedback. I don't know about Juan, but I think it's always good to have great feedback. And if you want to hear more about this type of interview, or more about our trip, because I think we didn't get to cover everything, then let us know, and maybe we'll bring Richard back and talk more about it or something. So,
all right. So without further ado, here's part 2.
We're back
from outer space.
So, Richard, we're on that task. What we came here to do in the first place was talk about you guys going to Japan. So, So why did you guys go to Japan? What happened when you guys were there? And how much judo did you guys trade?
So you want me to start?
Sure, go for it.
Yeah, so I actually planned this trip. Well, I've been thinking about that trip for years, ever since they announced that the World Championships was going to be held in Tokyo. I've always wanted to go to a Grand Slam, and it was just a hard time. It's actually a terrible time to go to Japan, and never go
Oh,
during
yeah.
that time because it's so hot and it's typhoon season. It's rainy. It's icky.
Sounds beautiful and fun to me.
Yeah,
The cicadas.
yeah. So there's absolutely no other reason to go around that time other than for judo. So I was like, hey, I'm going to do this. And I forgot how it got brought up, but I just started asking around the dojo, and a few people were interested. And in the past, when I tell my friends like, oh, let's go to Japan or something, they all flaked in the end. They're like, oh, I can't. I got to go on a cruise this year, or I go to Jamaica. And I'm like,
I'm in Japan, not Jamaica, okay?
so I end up going myself. I think part of it has to do with how people are very nervous about going alone, like not on a cruise ship or something, to a foreign country where they don't speak the language. That's a big part of it. So I think a lot of people were nervous about that. So yeah, I was talking to people, and Richard was one of the people that was like, hey, I'm interested. Like, I want to go. And I can't remember, a few other people, but ultimately only Richard was able to go. So it was
Well,
me
because
and him.
someone else supposed to go with you too, wasn't there? There's supposed to be 3 of you guys.
Yeah, I can't remember who it was.
I think if I remember right, I think that there was someone from the dojo that expressed interest, but they kind of like they were very quick to kind of not follow through on any of the things that, like, you need to do if you're gonna make these trips happen. But if I remember right, there was potential of one of your old training mates also coming from Texas, right?
Oh, that's a different story. That was Travis. Yeah.
Travis. Yeah. But I think that just
he had school starting, so he couldn't go. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, yeah, Anthony put it together, and in a lot of ways, like, I think this is one of Anthony's, like, fortes he's really, good at, is like it's very organized. Like, for me, when I went to Japan my first time, I had some things that I figured out, but the rest was kind of like, I'm just going to go. And Airbnb was a lot easier, but this was very, like, it was very thought out, and we, him and I planned on where we wanted to go and what we wanted to do. And I do think that him and I, and Johnny too, in a sense, like, we were good traveling mates, because it was like, hey, I'm going to go take off over here. You're welcome to come. But if not, and then I was like, no, I'm going to go to Osaka, and then we'll meet back up here. And
no one was butthurt over it, so.
No.
Yeah. So
I can't believe you. Terrible.
So we were lucky in the sense.
No. Just stop. You bring him to Japan and you ditch him with a person he doesn't know, he just met, and you stuck him in a room with him too.
I gave him a warning beforehand. So I'm lucky. I'm lucky in the fact that I grew up in Asia. I lived in Hong Kong, so I went to Japan every summer when I was a kid for summer vacation. So I kind of knew when the best season to go was, and even though that wasn't the best season, but how to get around. And also I've been a couple of times myself as an adult too, and I learned what's, like you said, I'm organized, but the first time I went, I tried to plan everything out to the hour, and it never ever works out that way. You get super stressed out when you're like, we're not going to make it. We got to do this. And now the whole schedule's fucked. And we made reservations at this place. We made reservations at this place, blah, blah, blah. Like, quick side story. My first time I did that, I planned it all out. I thought I was so smart going to, there's this thing called a robot cafe. I'm not going to ruin it for anyone that plans to go, but anyway,
I thought it was in the basement. It's a big show.
Yeah, it's a big show. So I thought I was so smart in that right after we arrived, we would check into a hotel, and then I pre-bought the tickets there to watch it at night. And then I was like, oh, we'll just watch it and then get out of the way, and then we'll go to bed, because it ends like really late. So I thought it would work with what do you call it? Staying up to fix your sleep schedule, the jet lag, right? Yeah. But little did I know, what happened was they had a mechanical malfunction. So they delayed the show by like 2 hours, and we were sitting there, and at that point I was hallucinating. Like, from lack of sleep, I was hallucinating. And
the robot's coming at me.
When we finally got into the show, and there's all these lights and sounds, I literally thought like I was like on drugs or something, basically.
Thought you were gonna die.
Yeah, so I learned my lesson that time, was that planning everything to the very hour, it's good to have like a set plan and some backup plans, but you don't want to like buy all the tickets, for example, for the day to go somewhere. So and then the second time I just like freestyled it, didn't plan anything. I ended up wasting a lot of time. So our trip this time was like my third attempt at it, and I feel like I hit the sweet spot. I definitely hit the sweet spot.
I will say this one thing. If we were to line the three, you, me, or you, Johnny, and myself up in a row, like in row of like organization to like complete lack of caring about organization, like wants to do complete free flow. Like Johnny is way on the other side of the spectrum. Like he's very free spirited, very like literally just like almost like just point at a thing and we're gonna go here today. Like knows nothing about it.
We
Like,
did that a couple of days too, right?
we did, yeah. And I think that's what makes it really good. Like if we're gonna do this as a dojo, I do think that makes, or just as a group of judo people, that helps actually, because there were even points where I was just like, no, but we have to go to here, and this is what like we want to do. And he's like, yeah, but what about over here? And I needed to get pushed out of my like comfort zone a bit.
Yeah.
So it's a good mix to have all of that.
So how this all started was I bought the tickets to the World Championships first. So I got the front row seats, the best seats, and then I was like, "Hey, Richard, I'm going to do this. I'm going to buy the tickets now. I don't have anything planned.
I don't know if Richard would say the best seats in the house. Richard did not have a great seat. All right.
I know, right?
For context, he sat next to this huge 100 kg plus Mongolian athlete.
Goddamn Mongolian.
Who was spreading out here. I heard you were spreading like crazy.
You'll actually see it in a YouTube video in Hifumi Abe versus Maruyama match. Like there was a brief time where they paused to bandage up Maruyama who was bleeding, and then they panned to the audience and you actually see me and Richard and Johnny in the background, and then you'll see Richard like kind of leaning over to the side because he was taking up so much space
with the towering Mongolian. And I'm gonna tell you, that guy and his friend, first of all, they wore sweatpants everywhere they went in summer in Japan, which I didn't understand. I'm like, how are you not sweating? But anyway, literally, like, every chance he had, he was, like, man-spreading. And so, like, he made it a point.
And he would look over and smile.
Yes.
Asserting his dominance.
Like, it was very, like, how I imagined sitting next to a sumo wrestler would go. But, you know, yeah, that guy.
So I bought the tickets, and then at that point I was committed because it's non-refundable and they were pretty expensive. So then from there on, I bought the looked at plane tickets, and then started planning out bit by bit, and that's how we ended up there. But at the same time, I was supposed to get married by the end of the year. So,
hold on. No, you were supposed to get married. You just need to propose first. So you're leaving big chunks out here.
So
you proposed. People don't remember. It's a romantic actually story. He proposed to his girlfriend in Japan. Okay.
Yes.
And she said yes.
So that was my plan, was that I was gonna get married at the end of the year because we bought a house and we would save a bunch of money on tax if we got married by the end of the year.
See, that's what he's caring about, taxes.
And I've always wanted to
romance.
I've always wanted to propose in Japan. So I'm like, hey, we're gonna do a boys judo trip. You want to go to Japan with us? She's like, no, I'm okay. And
that's a great way to sell it. Anthony.
Yeah. So I'm like, trying to keep it a surprise. I'm like, no, you really should go. So I bought these judo tickets, and they're non-refundable. I bought it for you too. So then she came along, and that's how we divided the trip up, and that's why Johnny had to travel and room with Richard for a while, was because I was with my girlfriend at the time. Yeah. And I went off to visit some friends and did the whole proposal thing in Japan. I actually thought about proposing at the Kodokan, but everyone was telling me, no, don't do that.
That's hilarious.
Everyone was like, do not do that. I'm like, why? It's like two of my favorite things in the world in one place.
In a judo gi, of the Kodokan behind, cherry blossoms falling behind us. It's like a Kurosawa film.
Yeah, so luckily we didn't do that. But yeah, so I went to visit my friends. I don't know what you did, Richard, while I went to Fukuoka. So
we went to Osaka because there is a Kodokan there. In Osaka, and so I went there because like I wanted to eat amazing food, and Osaka is an amazing place for that. So it's actually interesting how it worked out. Like I think I went to Osaka. I'm trying to remember now. It's been a year. If Johnny was there already, or if he met me there. But he has a friend from Vietnam that he grew up with that lives in Osaka. Actually, is teaching I forgot what he's doing out there. And so it turned into the whole like, hey, we're going to go and like stay at this place. And so we went to go to check it out. It wasn't necessarily where I was going to want to stay. So then I got out of the place out there. And so we kind of just did a little, like we were meeting up a few days and not a few days. And just kind of went around Osaka. And we actually didn't get the chance to train at the Kodokan in Osaka because they have a really weird schedule. If anyone does go and try to train there, do not expect the same sort of like consistency and schedule sort of things as you would as the Tokyo one, because there was like days where they were like, yeah, we're not going to train today. And we just decided to tell people somehow. So we went, I think 2 or 3 times actually to that Kodokan. And every time we went, they were like, no, we're closed today.
It's funny that you mentioned Osaka, Kodokan Osaka, because a friend of mine that went there, the way he ended up at the Kodokan there was that he was just hanging out, saw a girl in judo holding judo gi, and he was like, oh, do you do judo? She's like, oh yeah, I'm going to the Kodokan right now. And that's how he went. He saw someone wearing a gi. He followed her, kind of stalkerish, followed her there, got his gi, followed her there. And it was a randori day. So it was just one of the days where you get the red sash on you and you're just out there until they say switch. And I think he was out there for, he said, like almost close to an hour. Just on the mat.
Okay.
So
yeah. And the one in Osaka, when I was looking it up, it actually has you can just tell from the outside, but it seems to have a really different vibe than the one in Tokyo. Because I don't know if we're going to touch on this part, Anthony, but like the one in Tokyo, unless you sign up for the month and you're there for a minute of time, there's no classes. Like you're just going for randori for open mat. And but the one in Osaka,
you have to be a member to join a membership thing to train there, basically.
But the one in Osaka, I think, is a little bit more class oriented and stuff. But everything on all the reviews in English was like, they're so not nice here. This is not like Tokyo. Like they're very mean and not welcoming, and so and it's much smaller. So yeah, I don't know.
So let's go back to the beginning of the trip. So you guys get to Japan. All right, you guys get to Japan. You guys check into all stuff. What did you guys do the first day? Did you guys go train somewhere? Did you go look at a dojo, or did you guys just go get there and go straight to the World Championships?
Literally straight to the World Championships. Oh, sorry, Anthony, go.
Yeah, so me and my fiance now, stayed at the hotel that the athletes were training at, and Johnny was there too.
And I had a much different experience.
Yeah, it was down the block from the Budokan, so it was walking. It was really, like I mentioned, it was really, really hot there, so it was really interesting seeing in the middle of the summer heat, and all these non-Asian looking people are in literally like what do you call it? You know those suits you wear to cut weight?
Yeah.
Oh, sauna suits,
tracksuits.
plastics.
They're in sauna tracksuits running around the city. I mean, running in general is not very common in Japan.
Not everywhere,
Not everywhere. It's very rare. Yeah. So it was really weird seeing people running in the city wearing those tracksuits because they're all trying to make weight for the next few days. And it was a really interesting experience. I got to eat breakfast next to Kosei Inoue and saw a lot of athletes there. So I was trying to see what they were eating. Most of them were just eating rice and having a glass of orange juice. They weren't like going ham at the buffet like I was. So
right.
Yeah, they're cutting weight, you know.
Yeah.
Shall we at this point segue into my experience, which is very different but equally judo centric?
So, Richard, what happened when you first arrived?
I know, and so actually this is actually really cool because Anthony and I for this part here had very different experiences, but both were very judo-y because the whole area, basically the whole area of Tokyo turned into like international judo hub. So I stayed at a hostel the first couple of nights, and it was fucking hot. And I got there, and there was like they weren't sure if the AC was gonna work. You're downstairs, underground. It was just like, oh my god, this is gonna be hell. And it's a bunch of like cots, right? And except for the one person across from me, everyone else that was in a cot was from some other country here to compete. And so there were people from Cuba.
There were competitors. So there were competitors at this hostel.
Yes, because
that's crazy.
Because if I understand this right, and Anthony will know better than I will, you have to stay at a certain amount of nights at the regular expensive hotels.
So Johnny mentioned that in the episode. You have to stay at least 1 or 2 nights there.
Yeah.
So everyone else was living in these cheap hostels. Before and after that requirement.
Like the guy underneath me, because I had top bunk, poor guy. He was from like it was either Kazakhstan or something that sounds very similar to one of the Stan countries, Kazakhstan or Kazakistan. There was some people from Havana, so they were there, Cuban people. There were a few other people from different countries. They were judo people, and so they were staying basically the rest of their trip in this because it becomes affordable. And so it was very interesting because I was like, yeah, I'm here to train. Oh, cool. Are you a black belt? No.
Not exactly.
Not really. I'm just here to watch. So it was very intimidating, but they were all really cool.
Yep.
You should have asked him to do some Chikomi with them.
I know, right? They were so cool though. Honestly, people. One thing I learned from this is that judokas from other countries, except maybe Russia, and actually, and we'll talk about that too, I'm sure, and especially the little kids from Portugal. Oh God, I'm so over the kids. They're all so cool. There's like a instant like, oh, you do judo? Now we're friends. Like, it was really cool. Yeah.
Well, that's the one cool thing about judo, anyways. That I talked about other episodes. That judo, it's like a big judo family. The judo I do in America, same judo I'm gonna do in France, same judo I'm gonna do in Japan, China. You know, once you're a judo guy, you train judo. Come to our gym, come to our dojo, come work out with
Philippe
us.
mentioned it too. Like that was his favorite part about it.
Judo's a very international family thing. Even where I do karate. You know, I'm a Tong Sudo guy. I go to other Tong Sudo gyms and be like, oh, what kind of Tong Sudo do you do? You know? So. Yeah.
And so there was a lot of that in the hostels. And then after, like, I think basically right after that, then it cleared out and there's everyone else. But it was judo, you know?
Yep. So real quick to ask Richard, like what did you feel like watching the World Championships up close?
What did I feel? Like, what did it inspire?
What did you expect going in? Let's just say that.
Okay, what I expected, honestly, and it's what I got, was to basically not know what the hell they're throwing. Be like, it looks at that level, it looks so like contorted and like all sorts of stuff. Except for certain ones, like you see the Ono going, and a lot of the Japanese teams, it's way more technical, you know. But I expected full well to like have to turn to Anthony and be like, what throw was that? You know, I mean, I guess I know what it looks like when we practice it, but what does it look like at this
There's
level?
no commentating, just so people know, like what you see on YouTube, you usually hear someone commentating.
You don't have Neil Adams in your ear.
Yeah.
You don't have Neil Adams in your ear telling you what it is and stuff.
Exactly. And there were also too, I was actually really excited about this part, and we were not disappointed, even though it was maybe a little annoying, was to like be around all these international people. So like, it was definitely not fun being there with the Israeli fans.
They were really bad people.
Obnoxious. So like, it's like they'd never read a book on what it is like to be in Japan anyway. And so every social norm, they were like, we're going to just
It's like football hooligans, if you know what I'm talking about.
Yes.
Like, yeah.
Did they have those fufu velas or something? What are they called? The horns?
No, they actually didn't have that.
No.
Surprisingly. But they would boo, and then they'd yell Shido when it's not really Shido.
Yeah.
You know, so
when you're in Japan, and if anyone who's been there, there's just one thing you love about it, and you see it over there, is there's a social cohesion of just like, don't be an asshole. Like, I hope it's okay to say this in your podcast, but something about those fans in particular, they were just not very accommodating towards that. So yeah. But it was really cool being around all these international people and like people from all over the place. We made friends and it was cool.
Yeah. I'm glad we got the best seats because we got to see some sumo wrestlers, because I watched sumo and my girlfriend watches sumo, and we both we're like, oh my god, it's Tochinoshin, like, and there's a Yokozuna, like, and we actually tried to go take a picture with him, but then because I noticed him, but he was taking a picture with Ilideus, the Greek Olympic medalist. Because he's Tochinoshin is actually Georgian, and he started judo, and then he transferred to sumo. So they were taking a picture together, and I like went up. I wanted to ask him for a picture, but then other people noticed and started crowding around him, and then he just like left. So I'm like,
got out of there. Well, you got to do the things that you walk in front of him, take your camera, so he's behind you, be like,
no, that's a
hey, look.
Real sumo wrestlers, though, like there is a like there's an aura to them.
There is an aura.
You honestly, and I don't mean this to be like, because I'm pretty woo woo, but like they're pretty woo woo. Like they have like a presence to them. You're like, I'm gonna just cower down here. Yeah.
So they were there watching judo. After that, I think we watched the World Championships, and then you went off to do your own thing, and I went off to do my thing.
Yep.
You trained in Osaka. I went to visit some friends, and then we reconvened. Other than Osaka, did you train anywhere else? I don't think so, right?
No.
We tried to train there. So.
What we ended up doing was this trip. This wasn't by design, but it just kind of ended up happening that way. The beginning was really just the spectator and enjoyment part, and then the end of our trip, like the last half or 3/4 of it, was really just training. Training
after my girlfriend left by herself. Yep.
Yeah, because the beginning part was that, and Osaka ended up turning into like basically tourist stuff and just a lot of eating, because Osaka is amazing for that.
What did you go see while you're in Osaka? Like, did you go see the castle
Yeah, we saw that. We went to Nara. We went to, the thing that was nice is that Johnny's friend that he grew up with kind of, he lives there, so he knew some of the places to go. So we ended up going with him to like some gardens, and then we ate at the place he works, which is like some forget the name for the grilled meat stuff. He lives in an area of Osaka that is very Korean.
Mm-hmm.
Very like organized crime.
Yeah.
So
That's, I'm not gonna
so is
say it,
that
but
part.
it's very Osaka.
It's very Osaka, yeah.
Yeah.
Like I'm like, I have my fingers, I'm good.
You're like, what do you mean? What's going on here?
Yeah.
I got you. You were tried.
Yeah, I love Osaka.
I love Osaka. I've only messed up twice. Come on. I got that too.
So we did that, and we tried to train, but really that was it. And then we ended up meeting up we met back in Tokyo, and then basically went into Kodokan. And
we went to stay at a hostel together, right? Me and you?
Yeah.
I think. Yeah.
The Sakura's, yeah.
The Sakura hostel. That was a really great place to stay. The Sakura hostel, if anyone else plans to go find a place to stay in Japan. And
did they have cots or beds?
They have both. So I was the one we stayed at was in Asakusa. Mm-hmm. So
that was a great one.
That was a great one. People were super nice. It was really cheap. Also, we noticed they have like these bunk beds, and we're like, oh, we come as a whole dojo, we can like rent out a whole bunch of those rooms, and it's pretty cheap. It came up to like what, $40 or $50 a night, something like that.
It was pretty, that part was really cheap. And honestly, like if we were to get this together as a dojo, or even just a group of like 5 or 6 people that want to go and can commit to it, like when it comes to that sort of situation, like those hostels are great because it's a bunk beds. You don't have to worry about your stuff getting stolen.
And they're clean.
They're clean. There's and then
you have a
you're
kitchen.
close to showers. You have a kitchen, and so I could see that would eliminate a lot of the maybe like personality flaws that maybe getting a bunch of judo guys together would have.
If you want to get your own room, they have private rooms too.
So, you want to be a princess, get your own room.
I'd get my own damn room then. I ain't nobody else sleeping next to me. Your name was snore. Oh, God, I hate that. It's
really chill because
when I share room people, if they snore, I'm out.
Oh, you would not like those bunk beds.
Yeah, you wouldn't like those bunk beds.
Not with the Cuban team.
Oh man.
So we actually had a convenience store right next to the hostel, and at this time that hostel wasn't full of judokas anymore. But we walked into there, and it was hot, so we had tank top shorts and flip flops. And then the guy at the checkout counter was asking Richard, like, "Do you train judo?" He was from he was a guy from Uzbekistan, right? Yeah. So it was just interesting how
you got so pissed.
I got so pissed. I was like, "How come he didn't ask me that?"
Because he's saying he asked him. He asked him, "Oh, you do judo because you have judo body. That's why."
Yep,
exactly. He has a judo body. So
literally, he sees this like short, chubby, stocky guy walk in, and then like he sees Anthony, who either looks like a local or a tourist, but probably local. And he was just like, "Oh, you train judo, don't you?" And I'm like, "I do." And then Anthony was like, "You're across the company," and he's like, "What?"
Would you be happy if he said, "Oh, are you samurai? Are you sumo?"
I know, right?
You train sumo?
I would have been.
No, actually, Anthony does. Anthony's actually a sumo.
God, I'd be ecstatic if he asked me that.
Oh my god.
But we actually, after that, we went to the Kodokan. That was the first place we went to, right? If I remember correctly.
The first place was Kodokan.
Yeah, so we had to go sign up early. We had to show up early to a different office that was in a different part of the building, not in where the dojo is. And then you had to pay your fee, and then it makes you list what rank you are, blah blah blah. And then we went to the Kusakura shop to look at gis afterwards with Johnny and John. Yeah, so
no, 'cause I know the story about like what took forever to get a belt, was it, or was it the gi size? What took forever?
He was taking forever. You ever watch the business card scene from American Psycho where they compare all the white business cards? That was Johnny. He was like, "Oh, should I get this one or this one? This one has a slightly slimmer cut. This one has the new cotton blend." And then he was like, after we were waiting for him outside, and after a while, we're like, "Okay," he finally picked a gi, and he was like, "Wait, guys, I want a blue one." And we're like, we don't want to be late. We're out of here. So we left him there. But we met a guy from Spain, right?
Yeah, 2 people, and I actually
Yeah.
still talk to him a lot. Actually, you know,
They
like
signed
we
up
were
with
quite
us
a lot.
at the Kodokan and then went to the ski shop with us. Well,
Yeah, they were
separately.
at the
We weren't
gi shop,
together.
and there's this guy named Jordy, and he's actually just started. Maybe maybe if he's still going with it, we totally should put it in for the Spanish listeners, or they can translate or whatever. But these 2 guys from Spain, from Barcelona, or no, from Madrid, anyway, from Spain. This guy Jordy, who was here training, a younger, like, you know, slimmer guy, and then an older guy that he was training with, who was very Gypsy Kings vibe. I know this doesn't sound so bad, but he had the hair and the, like, I forgot what he was saying. He was just talking about partying and judo and savoring life. It was so Spanish, like, this interaction, because, like, it wasn't even just about judo. It was like, you have to do judo to savor life, and it was just, yeah. But he has now a judo podcast or some judo videos, because I didn't realize how much he fucking travels and does judo. This guy Jordy.
So traveling judo podcast or traveling judo videos. That's cool.
Yeah.
He competes in the Masters too, right? If I remember.
Yeah, he competes. He does a lot of that. Like right after we got back from Japan, he went to Morocco for some other Grand Slam or something, and he was out there doing some stuff. So he was a very interesting guy to meet. So yeah.
If I remember correctly, we signed up together, but he was asking about the kata classes.
Yes, they were there to train, because I think he was looking to really specifically train for some stuff. So he was going for kata, wasn't doing randori, none of that.
Okay.
Yeah, so we signed up for randori. We had to pay our fees. We went to the building, went up to the locker room floor where we had to pay our fees, which was like, what, $5? I don't remember what.
Yeah, it's cheap. Martial arts in Japan, if anyone wants to go, it's cheap. Like, it's a dime a dozen there.
Except for the place where we paid $30, but
except for that place.
Yeah. So you guys paid $5. That means that was what 50 yen then?
5,000.
5,000 yen. Yeah. 5,000 yen.
Sorry,
oh my god!
Not 5,000. Sorry, 500.
5,000 yen. Take the shirt off my back, then why don't you?
Right.
So the interesting thing is you paid, and then they told me, like, oh, the locker room's down there, and I can read Chinese, so I saw the sign, and then there was 2 locker rooms. One said Yudansha, and then the other one says everyone else, right? Like Q ranks, right? So
you guys had to go to the Q ranks then.
So I went into the Q ranks. We opened the door, and I was like, "What the f?" Like, it was all kids. It was all children. Yeah, it was all little kids there. I mean, for people who don't know, like in Japan, it's pretty fast and easy compared to America to get a Shodan rank. It takes a year or 2. It's like it's a beginner's rank. It's not an advanced rank like it is in Western countries. So we went in, and there was all little kids. I'm like, I don't know, it feels wrong, right?
It did not feel right.
Yeah, so we came out, and then we went to the Yudansha side, and then walked in, and all these guys just gave us stares. And
what
then
foreigners doing here?
That was the gist of what we felt like. So I walked back out, and I went to the front desk, and I'm like, "Where's the locker room?" And he was like, "Oh, what rank are you?" And I was like, "Sankyu." And then he was like, "Oh, you gotta go to that one." So we ended up using the kids one, and I had trouble stuffing my bag into the kid size lockers.
Tiny little lockers.
So I actually had to leave some stuff outside the locker because I couldn't fit my whole bag in there. Yeah. So after that, we got changed, and then we got out, and then we walked up the stairs. Was it downstairs? No,
I forget.
It was the dojo was in a different floor, so we walked to the dojo floor, and then we bowed to all the high. They usually have one person that's in charge for the day. We bowed to him. He was like telling us the rules. Like it's pretty lax, but they were really specific about how you bowed in and out. They have signs about it, and they explain it to you, but their explanation wasn't very clear on what you do. So I thought there was like a formal bow in and bow out from the way that the signs were labeled. I think if you're on the left side, you're supposed to the higher ranked person has to be on your left side, right? So something like that. Like on the left side is one way, and the right side is another way. And then when you're
higher rank is supposed to be on your left. Your left side.
Don't quote me. I think the higher rank has to be on the side that's closer to the picture of Kano.
Yes.
Okay.
Because the dojo is ranked like it's like a square, so you sit on the left and the right side, and then in the bottom, and in the bottom it's like another way. But they basically implied that you have to sit that way and bow in and bow out. But what actually happened was before you do a randori session with someone, so you go up to someone and be like, hey, you want to go next round? And they're like, yeah, sure. And then what you do is you sit down on that side and you bow, and then you go do it. And then the timer goes off, like 4-minute rounds, right? I think it was. So the alarm goes off, then you go back down to the side and you bow out. And then you go to a different partner, and there's like a 30-second or 1-minute break. And then when the timer goes off again, then you bow in and you go in. So there's no bow in or bow out ceremony for
okay.
There, and actually that part is funny because we had some of it. You and I had very different things on this side. This is very Aikido, so that's why it didn't feel odd to me. Because in Aikido, everyone that you practice with, you have a protocol to like how you guys are like starting to practice, and so there's not like just one. I mean, there is clearly one big in the beginning and then afterwards, but basically what they want at the Kodokan is like you have to pay respects to like the mat. Like every time you're going to go on. So you bow in with your partner, you bow out with your partner, you pay respect to your partner. So it's very Japanese, which we don't see a lot here. I don't notice a lot here.
Well, that's the way I was taught too when I first started doing judo. That's the way I was taught, and that's how it's supposed to be. You get a lot of people that get lazy and don't bow correctly or just nod their head. Actually, one of our members came to me one time after they went on a trip, went to another dojo, and I guess they got yelled at by the head sensei at that dojo, being like, telling that he doesn't know how to bow right and what's wrong with him or something like that. And he's like, hey, they kind of said I was stupid because I didn't know how to bow right. It's like, yeah, because I teach you how to bow right, but you guys don't want to. You guys get lazy and do the whole like head nod thing. Like, oh, okay. Yeah. And that's one thing that when I teach, I always teach people, like the informal bow, that kind of like, this is what we accept. And I teach people the formal bow, to bow to the top of your kneecaps, head down and stretch back straight, how to do it in seiza and how to do it standing. And some people just forget it. Some people just like, oh, whatever. Okay, I did that. That's good enough. And if you go to a really strict dojo, you might get the head instructor tell you like, what are you, stupid? Or what's wrong with you? You disrespect me? So, I get that. I totally get that.
Yeah. So, how did that work? And so then we were there. It was basically randori. It was still very international because there were still a lot of people that were...
So while we were there was... two school or clubs that visited too. I guess they were same as us, traveling as a club and to watch the World Championship. So one was they had Chilean back patches, and the other one had was it Portugal? It was Portugal, right?
And these are Portugal kids you guys still talking about?
Yeah.
Okay.
I was so mad.
To our Portugal fans out there, we don't hate Portugal. You know, I'm look how light I am. I'm probably Spanish, most likely. You know,
he's Iberian,
right?
Yep. So, do you want to tell a story?
Yes, I would love to tell this story because I was glad and I was so happy that it happened this way. We love you.
Hold on. This meeting did you get that? The meeting timed out?
I just paid for it.
Oh, did you?
It's okay. Just keep going.
All right.
Oh, okay.
So continue on with the story about the Portuguese.
Okay, we love Portugal and they're amazing and the adults are great. It's just there were the ones that were like the 20-some-year-olds or even a little younger that like there's a little bit of like this very arrogance, like whatever, and it's so not cool anywhere, but it's so not cool in Japan. So I'm over here and Anthony and I are like probably the only brown belts that are on the mat because you get your black belt pretty easy in Japan. Like you start, it's a starting rank. It's not an accomplishment rank like it is for us here in the States, and so they didn't want to train with us. And so especially these Portuguese people, they were like, no. So one of the head guys had actually like asked this Portuguese guy to work with me. And he's like, you guys go. And he flat out like turned to them and he's like, no, I don't want to work with him. And so the sensei kind of did a little like double take and was
that was the sensei actually in charge of the for the day.
One in charge.
He actually looked at him. He's actually on the if you go on the Kodokan YouTube channel, they've been doing a video of a throw every day. He's the uke in that video. So
the one that speaks Spanish, right?
Yeah.
Or the other one?
He lived in where do you live? He said he lived in Chile or
yeah.
So he lived in a South American country for a while, basically.
Yeah, really cool guy, really cool guy. But he kind of gave him like okay, then if you don't want to work with him, I'll give you someone to work with. So brought in the bulldog, like, oh my God, this like short guy. The enforcer. He was one of the guys who was like the head, like top tier guys over there. And he basically told him in Japanese, like, fuck him up. Like, and he did. He was like, okay, then we'll go randori. And he like destroyed this kid. Like the kid tapped out.
He threw him like every 10 seconds, legitimately.
Yeah. And this guy had the crazy eyes, like the guy from, he was like bald and like super ripped and like had a little bit of that crazy eye in him. Like, so this guy, if I remember right, Anthony, I think he tapped out.
No, it was like a minute and a half in to the 4-minute round, and he was just like, "No, I'm done. I'm done."
I'm good, thank you.
He walked off the mat. Like,
I know, right?
No mas.
Yeah, no,
yeah. So,
I can't.
but the kid had a brown belt too, so I don't know why he was looking down on our brown belt, but.
Look, but like, I'm a youth with a brown belt. You guys are adults still with brown belts, okay?
Yeah, it was very much of this vibe that like we're here to, and it's so. Anyone that is listening, don't ever have this anywhere, but definitely don't have it in Japan, because it's instant. Like you get like the fucking, you're blacklisted. Is the whole like, I'm here to train with the big guys, not the every regular person. So like this is not what I came for. That was the mentality, and I don't think you can do that at the Kodokan. Like we went with old people, we went with young people. Like you have something to learn from everybody. Like
so. To back up a little bit, before we went to Japan, people were like, "Oh, if you're gonna go to Japan, just wear a black belt." People told me that, and I was like, I don't, even though I know what it means, like I just didn't feel comfortable wearing something I didn't earn, right? But then I kept hearing it, so then that's when I was like, Richard, people have been telling me this, and I think you should wear a brown belt at least. So I lent him my brown belt to go with us, and we're getting treated this way in a sense. Even with our brown belt. So now that I think about it, next time I go, even if I don't have my showdown rank, I would probably put on a black belt.
Yeah, so, absolutely.
Yeah, because
can you imagine if you went there wearing a green belt?
No, they literally would look at you like you had two heads.
Yeah, because Johnny was legitimately a green belt, right? But he had a black belt on, and people were happy to go with him all the time. Like people were going up to him. He was training every round. I had to keep asking. Like I basically asked a bunch of people, and they're like, no, probably because they're probably like, this guy's a 6'4" brown belt that probably might hurt me. Basically, is what they're probably thinking, right?
Yeah.
So all the people that went with me, for the most part, I only did randori with 2 Japanese guys, and everyone else was either a foreigner living in Japan that got their shodan, or I went with some Chilean and Portugal guys. And I went with this black belt, my first fight from Chile. He was so strong. Like once he gripped onto me, he was so strong. But I think he was like at the beginning, he was like, oh, he's a brown belt, I'll go easy, right? Then he realized like, oh, he can actually do some stuff, and that's when he turned it on and he like drove me through the mat. But the mats at the Kodokan, the floor at the Kodokan is spring loaded, so it was beautiful. So nice. So even though he drove me through the mat, I didn't feel anything. Yeah. I went with some white belts from Chile, and the guy was, I guess he wasn't confident in being thrown yet, and he was afraid I would throw him, so I did Newaza with him. There was a corner cornered off for some people who do Newaza, and like usually older people with red and white belts, or injured people that want to do Newaza. So I was doing Newaza with him over there. We chatted. He was like, yeah, I've only been doing judo for 6 months, and he traveled to Japan with his club to train. So there was a lot of that, and then a lot of Japanese people turned me down, didn't want to train with me, except for one guy who again like underestimated me at first, and then like we started having. I like going with the Japanese players a lot more. We kind of like went to other dojos, and they'll at first like go easy on you, like to figure out your level, and then they'll adjust. Even though I know they're better than me, they'll adjust to how hard you want to go. Basically, they won't just like off the bat like use you as cannon fodder. Basically,
yeah.
So, one other thing I noticed was I feel like I was able to keep up with most of the shodan, which was mostly of the foreigners that got their rank at the Kodokan. I feel like I can mostly keep up with them. But you can tell, like in judo, we don't have the dan ranks listed on the belt, but I could tell who was shodan and who wasn't, basically. So it's very different.
And the Japanese play, I noticed this a lot with everywhere we went, because I actually was also very comfortable, because a lot of them were kind of the same thing. We're a little bit like, I don't know if I want to work with you, but the old Japanese guys, like, I'm gonna tell you, if you're gonna go and you want to like train with every fucking young, like super like athletic guys, you have a lot to learn, I think, from the old guys that go there and they train because they're so technical.
Yeah.
But
The
there's
grip fighting was was crazy too.
it's amazing because there's all sorts of stuff. But the one thing that I noticed the Kodokan the most that I don't see here is there is like this certain there's like a sensitivity that Japanese players have to where you're at. So they're not afraid to take a fall. They're not like, at all costs, I won't fall. We're just practicing this, like, it's this mutual thing. But they're really good, like he was just saying, at matching where you're at. So if you're going really easy, they're not going to be like, okay, I'm going to just be destroying you. They're going to go easy. They'll take the falls. They'll do all that. But if you turn it on, they'll turn it on. Yeah.
But this is the Kodokan, so
This is Kodokan,
yeah. So
well, this is
very
Tokyo,
different in the last place, which
this is the Kodokan, the Tokyo Kodokan.
It's kind of like they get a lot of tourists, so they obviously don't want people to get hurt, right? So
yeah.
I'm sure there's some more competitive. Like I think if you go train at a university for some reason, for example, that would be different. That's my goal next time, is to go train at a university. Supposedly you need an invitation, so which is why I didn't. You need to know someone or
you need to know,
yeah.
Which is the equivalent. The equivalence of that, which I'm sure we'll talk about, and this is the last one that unfortunately you had food poisoning, but the one that we went to with Moss, but we'll talk about that when we get there.
So as a segue to that one of the places I emailed when I was doing research on the trip on where to train was one of the few places that had a website, and it's in Yokohama, and the place is called Honmoku Judo Club. So it's inside this. Yeah, it's inside this high school, and it's one
abandoned high school.
Abandoned. Well, it's not abandoned. They actually still have.
Was there ghosts there or something? Was there haunted?
No, there were literally like.
So we're getting there.
We're getting there.
So he emailed me back, and he was like, "Oh, you probably just want to go to the Kodokan," and a lot of places that emailed me back actually said that, like, you shouldn't come here. You should just go to the Kodokan. When I was like, "Oh, I'm traveling. I want to go visit you guys." And this place has an English website and stuff, so I was confused. Like, why do you tell me to go to the Kodokan? And he's like, "This is probably not the place for you." Was what he said. I'm like, "No, I just want to stop by and do some light practice," because they said they're not very competitive, is what they said. So this guy's name is Tetsu Ota, and he has very limited English, but he types English really well. So he forgot to pick us up at the station. He said he'll meet us at the station. And I guess he didn't think we would show up, which seems to be a theme in these things. So I was like looking up where the high school was on Google Maps, because we were waiting at the station for like half an hour at that point at the time we said we would be there. And we had to hike up and then Google Map look for this high school, because he said they train in high school. I'm like, there can't be that many high schools around here. So we get up to this high school, and then I was just like, let's look for like a gymnasium, basically. And we walk all the way back, and it's just like old abandoned looking gymnasium, like straight out of a horror movie, I think.
Yes.
And we walk in,
it's a trap, guys.
I started hearing judo mat slamming, right? So that's when we walked towards that, and then he was like, "Oh, you guys are here. Sorry." Like they kind of just forgot about us, I guess. Or he didn't think we would show up. But I didn't really understand his excuse, because their English is very limited. But it was a super casual club. They explained that the judo club in the school shut down many years ago, and them as alumni wanted to start the judo club back up again.
Yeah.
So they only train twice a month. So you have to, and every month is different, because they don't know when the school allowed them to train. So you have to email them ahead of time, like I think a week or two before the month, so that they know when they get access to it. And it was super chill. The techniques they taught weren't super complicated or aren't necessarily the best for competition, but they're good. They're good to know otherwise. And there was a guy there called was it Takashi-san?
The one that trained
the one that took a break. The one that was going for his knee don.
The one that I threw?
Yeah.
So I'm putting it out there.
I wouldn't say
I don't want to brag or nothing, but yeah, I threw his knee down in Japan, you know.
No, I fucked up. I don't know. By the way, I don't know if you're G-rated. I should stop my cussing, but I definitely, I don't know.
Okay, we have no sponsors.
That place, but I would not say this was an accomplishment to say that, like, I threw him. I probably should have been better.
Yeah. So, but beforehand he's like, Takashi-san here is going to the Kodokan, to the Kohaku tournament, the monthly tournament, to get his knee done. And he was like, oh yeah, I took like a 20, he's 40 something. He's like, he hasn't done judo since his 20s. So he took like a 20 something year break from judo, and he's coming back, and now he wants to go for his knee dan. And he actually brought his like 60 or 70-year-old mother to the dojo to learn judo. So I saw her in the corner. Judo. They were teaching her break falls, and she was having a blast. Like you wouldn't see that in America. So he was doing that, and then basically I was like, hey, by the way, he's basically implying that he has a tournament coming up, so don't hurt him. So
yeah, Richard, don't hurt him. So
Richard goes with this guy, and first thing he does is a drop Seoi Nage. He almost like throws him onto his head. And and I looked in the back of the head sensei, their jaws just like dropped, and they're like, I guess it was partially afraid that he got hurt, and partially was like, oh, these guys actually are decent. Like,
no, it's the damn dirty Americans.
Well, when you hear the
dangerous judo.
So then I was like, Richard, he has a tournament next month. Like, you shouldn't do that. Like, because one thing I noticed training at all these clubs where they don't do sacrifice throws, rarely, and they don't do Tani Atoshi. No. There's like, I don't think I saw one Tani Atoshi there, and they're very clear on like what we don't do, because we're like trying to do this longevity wise, except for the last place, which we'll talk about that later again. But there is like I said, there's a sensitivity that like Japanese people have around judo. Like all day long you can do all these throws, they're going to be effective, but they're like looking out for one another. Yeah, so I actually pulled them aside I think this was at the Kodokan, when I was like, hey, is it actually against the rules to do, like, do you guys not do sacrifice throws and Tani Atoshi? And they're like, no, there's no rules against it. And then he just like kind of like brushed off my question. I'm like, okay, I don't see anyone doing it. It's been like 3 hours, you know? Like, so it's, I kind of appreciate that. Also, there was a lot of people on the mat at the same time, so I feel like it doesn't allow you for that room to do all these kind of throws. So a lot of the throws are very controlled.
Yeah, and that dojo, I really did like it there. Going back, I actually think that aside from the Kodokan, that's going to be the place I really want to go, actually, just to see them again, because Anthony, you talked about this a little bit in the beginning, but they actually have this very like, we're a small town here. This isn't like the main part of Tokyo. This is Yokohama, right? Like, we love judo and we want to keep it going. So these guys are like reliving the glory days. It is literally like, the wrestling dads that are like, we're going to start a wrestling league because we want to like relive the days of like our youth. And
I think the head sensei there actually used to work as an oil worker.
Yeah, in Arab Emirates.
Yeah, so he was there like competing in judo is what he said. So
yeah. He trained. I remember talking to him after. I think this is the point where you went into like the back place to shower, that scary ass like murder room.
Yeah.
Because literally, like where they have showers, it was like a hose, and there was all of this like debris and all this stuff in this dark room.
There's no lights in there.
No lights.
Were there hooks up there too and stuff?
I know,
I couldn't see. But when I turned on the water, you could tell no one's turned it on for many years because it smelled just like metal, like rust.
Yeah. So I was talking to that guy, the main guy, and he was his whole life he was an oil driller, and so he was in the Arab Emirates, and so he trained people there. He competed there, that sort of stuff. And his style was very I would say, I don't know if this is the right way to say it, but it's a very hard style. Like he was like, I do Ippon Seoi, and that's what I do.
Okay. And he said that outright too. Like,
yeah, he's like, this is my throw, and that's what I do, and that's very Japanese. But he had this thing that I did learn, and I've actually gotten a little bit of like, I've used it in Randori a little bit, and it does work a bit. I want to like get better at it, but he uses this sort of thing where he's kind of lifting you and turning you one way, and then like really dragging you this way, and then as you're coming back the other way, that's when he goes in for the Ippon Seoi. And so, but it's a very muscly throw. Yeah, he was a very hard guy, but super cool.
So it was hot as hell. There's no AC at any of these places except for Kodokan. And from what I heard with talking with other people, the ACs were only recently installed at the Kodokan.
Yeah.
But anyway, don't bring a double weave gi to Japan in the middle of summer is my recommendation.
I was just thinking, I'll send you pictures. I do have pictures from these. I was like, I could put them in the background right now, but we'll just do that later.
Only a single weave or a training gi then?
Yeah, so afterwards, they were like, Takashi-san here is single. And I was like, wait a minute, like, why are you telling me this? Like, and I was like, oh, I think they're implying that he doesn't have a family to go back to, so he's free to take us around the city, basically. And we're like, oh, there's actually a typhoon coming, which is like typhoon season, and there's actually a typhoon coming, and we want to get back to Tokyo before it hits. And they're like, oh, okay, at least like let's go grab some lunch or something. So they took us to Denny's. They drove us to Denny's.
Great. Okay, no. If you're not familiar, let me explain this part. All right, there's one thing I do know about Japan. So if you're not explaining, Denny's in Japan isn't like the Denny's in America. It ain't late night party food after the club. All right, it is fancy, gourmet pastries, 5-star steaks and nice things and stuff. But they think that's like gourmet American food there. All right. Same thing if you go to a 7-Eleven in Japan too. They have food, they have ramen, they have rolls, they have rice balls there and stuff. It ain't nothing like America, all right?
No. They put us to shame.
So they brought us to Denny's and paid for our meals, like insisted that they paid for it, and then drove us back to the train station.
That's nice.
They were so cool. They were honestly such a great group of people. That was one of the ones that I was like training there. It felt really good because there is like a sense of like they were happy that we showed up, and they're like, now we want to take you out, and when you come back, and it was very much that vibe. So they like, barely
spoke any English, by the way, so we were communicating in like single words and like.
Are you guys using your phones?
Judo. I did use my phone
some of it, but even then, like the attempts of it and stuff, and it felt like we were out with like
but in the end, we didn't mention what was in the end. This guy showed up late. Was what was his name? I forgot his name already. The guy that was from an Arab country.
Oh yes, he's still on my Instagram. Actually, I forget his name. He's a translator for sports
for FIFA, I think. Right?
For FIFA, very Muslim. He's a very devout Muslim. I think his dad's an imam, and he's from, I think, Turkey actually.
Oh, you're right. He was from Turkey.
Yeah, he's Turkish.
So he came late, and then after he came, he can translate for us basically. So it was really cool.
And he was my size.
What was that?
Would you have?
He was my size.
I don't remember. He wasn't that good, right? Was he? I couldn't hear your question.
He's a white belt. No, he's a white belt. I think his story was that he came to visit, and then I think that there was something about the fact that since he learned Japanese, he met someone who was involved with FIFA or one of these sports things, and they asked him to like basically just be the translator.
I think he said the prince asked him.
The prince, that's what it was. Yeah.
I don't think it was Turkey. If it was the prince, so
was he Saudi? I thought he was Turkish, but maybe I'm wrong. Anyway. But he was like a white belt, like, studying with this guy, but really, really accommodating. Great. That whole group was a really great group of people. Very like they bring you in.
So after we went to this club, the next club we went to was so one of our senseis moved back to Japan, Mas sensei, and he's like, okay, there's 2 clubs we can go to. One is like very casual, and the other one's super competitive. And we're like, oh, okay, let's go to the casual club first. And it was only 400 yen. I remember paying 400 yen for the entry. It was like in this community center.
Mm-hmm.
So one thing I realized was a lot of clubs don't advertise. They don't have Facebook. They don't have Instagram. They don't have a website unless they're a business. So a lot of these cheap community clubs don't have a website and they don't advertise. So you have to know through people. Even Moss was like saying, oh, I only know because I had to ask around. Like I couldn't find it online or anything. So we showed up, he introduced us, and then we're like, okay. And they're like, you can go train. We trained, and people there were very casual, showed up, stretch, did some randori. And then when we asked for a picture at the end, they were like very, they're like, oh, yeah, it's
mortified.
Yeah, they were like, it's not normal to take pictures in dojos. Like we usually say no, but we'll make an exception this time.
Well, but there was something else. There was something to that though, because there was something. Remember, Anthony? They were saying something along the lines that they didn't want to advertise that they were doing judo.
I think it more has a thing to do with how they don't want to say like, hey, look, we're better than these guys or something. I don't know what it was. it has nothing to do with they're doing judo in secret. It has
No,
to
no,
do
no,
with
no.
it has to do with how they don't want to boast or advertise for a reason. But anyway, they reluctantly agreed to take a photo with us. So we have a photo. That's the only photo we have from the whole trip in the dojo. That's
Really, you guys didn't
Well, I took
any
one in
photos at any of the
Yokohama.
dojos?
Kinda.
what was that?
You guys didn't take
I
any of
said-
their photos at any of the dojos you guys went to at all?
No, because we usually leave
No.
our phone in the locker. When the Kodokan, we took a photo too. But
We took we took one at the Kodokan, and then at the Yokohama one, I have it on my Instagram. I'll send it to you. But
you secretly took it.
I secretly took one, but there was no formal one.
Yeah, so
I know they would have been great with it, actually.
Yeah, we're kind of wary of it. It was really laid back, that place.
Mhm.
People were a little bit better than the place at Yokohama.
Yeah.
That was
Skill-wise, yeah.
Yeah, this guy couldn't throw me, so he finally threw me with a tomoe nage. That was the only sacrifice throw I saw my whole trip.
Yeah.
Um,
That place, there was a little bit more of a, like, what I appreciated about this, there was very, and you can see this when you go over there, there's very different vibes in these different dojos. And that's actually something that Moss was saying, that he was, moving back to Japan, he was still figuring out how that worked for him, because every dojo has, I mean, I'm sure it's here too, but every dojo has a very significantly different vibe. And it's not as common over there to have, like, just adults that are just going to train. It tends to be a younger sport, or which you're going to go hard, or you're going to be a bunch of older people that really just want to, like, move and not really do much at all. So there's it's hard to find a middle ground in Japan, which we have here at our dojo, Hollywood Judo, where you can have both. But this place was a little bit more like, you can tell they were like I thought they were very, like, proud of, like, this is where I train. Like, this is my group of, like, 10 people.
Mm-hmm.
But was not a hard dojo. Like,
yeah, it was not. They're very technical, though.
It was a very technical, it felt more Budo type, like, in the sense that, like, they were more technique oriented, all that stuff, but not so much in a not like the other place what Masa is going to talk about.
Yeah, so we can talk about it next. I mean, we're kind of going long. We might have to split this up into two. But
So after you guys trained there, did Moss take you guys to eat anywhere? Take you guys out?
Oh
yeah,
did
there's
he?
plenty of places to eat.
I'm gonna tell you, I'm sure Moss will listen to this. Moss, next time we go, I'm literally gonna, like, trick him into paying for things. Like, we need to do that next time. Moss is very, like, accommodating and very Japanese in the sense it's like, he's like, no, I'm taking you out. And we're like, well, no, let us pitch in or let us take it. He's like, no. And I think we did one time, Anthony. I think we did take him out once.
We did. Yeah, we did.
But it was, Moss is very gracious. He was an amazing guy to have. And I really do miss training with him. He was a great person to train with.
Yep.
But he took us out to some places. We went out to some, what was that? What's that called?
We went to the Motsunabe place.
Motsunabe place.
Yeah.
And then the night that I think you were not well, I went with him to this, like, kind of very fancy, posh, like, French bistro thing with, like,
Were you dressed for the occasion?
No, we just got out of, like, training, and I was like, I was like, in flip flops and shorts and sweaty, just newly showered or whatever, because you shower over there after every time. But yeah.
Yep. So afterwards, you went to. I got food poisoning, so I was done for the rest of the trip. And
yeah,
you want to talk about the dojo you went to, the hard training one?
Sure. Yeah. So like what Anthony was mentioning earlier is, like, there is a very clear cut distinction of, like, a dojo's either very, like, we're not going to go hard. We're just going to practice this technique and make it really super easy and smooth. And you're not going to get that hard of a workout, but you'll get moving, like that sort of vibe. And then the other extreme, which is where we went to, and Sensei Moss was very, like, clear. He's like, Richard, like, I've been here once. I take no responsibility for what his actually will be like. It's pretty intense. And I was like, you know what? Like, knowing the way I am, I'm like, let's go. We'll try it. If I have traveler's insurance, we'll figure it out.
Oh yeah, get travel insurance before you go. That's what we did.
Yes, it's a must. And I was like, we'll figure it out. I paid that, whatever it was for that traveler's insurance. If I got to use it, I use it. So this place that we went to is actually in a sports center, and it is very interesting because it's basically all young people that come right out of high school, right? And they are not at the tier where they're like Japanese national team sort of vibe, but they're right under there where these a lot of companies will do this, is that they'll have, like, a team for the company.
Yeah, yeah.
And they'll basically sponsor them, and they have different paying sort of tiers. So it's usually these are security companies or like anything that deals with that sort of like very macho thing, right? And all these people at this training place were like, you walk in and you see nothing but cauliflower ear, like people that are like ripped, like competitors. They have patches on of like who they're representing, and it's serious. It's a very serious vibe, and it's like totally hardcore competition. But what these companies do is they basically will have a group of people that are like getting paid at different tiers. So there's an incentive to basically move your way up the ranks in competition to become top tier, whatever, because you make more money.
Yeah.
And so this is where they all come together to train. And there is a energy in the room right away of like, I'm not here to mess around. Like, I'm here and this is my life. So we go in and it's all mostly younger people, like I said, and they do a lot of like, there was a lot of people. Super cheap. I think that one was actually like $2.50, like $2.50 or something crazy.
Yeah, we can't get people to stay there. That's why they need new people, new customers.
I was pretty scared. So they do warm ups like where they'll do like the lines like similar, like they'll do the uchukomis back and forth and do that stuff. Then they'll have then the rest is basically there's no teaching. It's all competition. So they'll do or shiai rather. So they'll do randori in the beginning for like the first like 40 some minutes or whatever, and it's just like you're going and you're just working with whoever. And then at the end they do randori, but they do the randori like you were mentioning earlier, Juan, where they give out a red belt.
Yeah.
And when they give you that red belt, you go 5 times. So you have 5 competitions you got to go, and then you can give your red belt to somebody.
Yeah.
And the eagerness in this room of like, I got to go because like, it reminds me of like pigs, like little baby piglets that have to feed. They're like, I got to get as much as I can right now. It's that sort of thing. And so of course, right away, like Moss was like, I hope they don't give me the red belt. Like I want to just kind of take a little easy. Right away out of like honor, they come and like present this red belt to him. And so he's like, oh shit. And so he comes and he tells me, he's like, can you go with me the first one? Like I know like I'm gonna get killed.
Can you go with me the first 3, please?
I know, right? And so I did. So the first one we go, and like and it is, it's shiai, but like you can kind of gauge a little bit, and afterwards, I'm telling you, like you all know. I mean, you all know Mas. Mas can turn it on when he needs to turn it on, Sensei Mas. But otherwise, he's very smooth, very technical, very like
he'll take falls.
He'll take falls. He turned it on. Like I'm not gonna lie. I was like over there. I'm like, oh my god.
From what he has described, I've never seen Moss. He's never seen Moss like that before in a dojo.
I've never seen Moss turn on like that because these younger guys like have something to prove, and so they go over there, and that everything I told you about them matching with you in sensitivity, not here. No, over here there's like blood and like people like they're going hard.
You said they'll run you to the walls, and the people on the side will just push you back in, right?
Yeah, they will. They'll push you back in. The senseis actually don't allow you to at all sit on the outside. They're like, you can't sit here because people will come and they'll get run over. So they will. They'll push you right back in. There's no breaks there, and they're very hard. So he lasted the 5 of them, and then just like handed the belt out, and it was actually really good. I actually I felt with this one that I was like, if I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna do this. So I went and I did some shows and people.
Did you get a red belt? Did they hand you the red belt for a while?
No, I did. No, they were not gonna give me with my orange, with my my brown belt. They were not gonna give me no red stripe at all. But I went for some of them, and you had to really like jump in to get in because people there was not like a hey, we need more people on the mat. No, everyone was going. So I got in on a few of them, got murdered, murdered, but and otherwise it was really cool. Like I think this is I forget what it was. It was the Chiyoda Sports Center or something like that. It's like an aquatic center where they have everything. They do kendo, they do swimming, they do.
Okay.
And that was the other place that we trained in Tokyo. And then Sensei Mas and I went after and ate fancy French food and drank beer and talked and it was great to be out there with.
Then another typhoon hit.
And then a typhoon. Oh, I was
another
pissed.
typhoon hit at the end.
That one typhoon I wasn't expecting. I was literally in.
It came out of nowhere.
I was sandals and shorts and by myself, and I'm like, and I didn't bring an umbrella. And then I get to the room where Anthony's like dying from food poisoning, and I come in like drenched. But yeah, all in all, that I think that covers where we mostly train.
There's one more place, but my wife is getting mad at me because we actually have something that we're supposed to do after, but we can cover it real quick. We also went to the U.S. Embassy dojo.
Okay.
That's right. That was forgettable.
Yeah.
Sorry.
So
Sorry.
We'll briefly cover it. The dojo was really small. Few people told me not to go train there. Mostly I thought it was because it was small, but I think the atmosphere there is very different. It's taught by an American guy called Lance. His name is Lance.
Fucking arms dealer.
Lance.
Yeah, he works for a defense contractor out in Tokyo. So, but yeah, we met a bunch of cool guys there.
That was cool.
Yeah,
I met a monk.
Yeah,
A monk.
I met a monk that I went to actually to go train with after and do some meditation stuff. He's a judo monk. Like not a monk in judo. He's a monk who is like a full blown monk that like, you know, the bald hair, the whole thing, and he happens to do judo. He's like 80 some years old. And I actually went with him afterwards. Sorry, Anthony, I know you gotta go, but like I actually went with him after to like do some meditation practice. And then it turned into him sharing the like his
judo philosophy.
His judo philosophies and stuff, which is very interesting.
Okay.
Yeah.
What was his name again? Tenkai?
Tenkai Miki.
Yeah, so you can actually look him up. He
lived in Mexico
Dakota
City
too.
for a long time, actually.
Oh, wow.
Very interesting guy. Speaks fluent English, basically.
And Spanish.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, so just, again, we had to go to the U.S. Embassy dormitories and show our passport. We actually had to let him know ahead of time. Like, we emailed him, and he was like, okay, I need to know your passport, your full name and date of birth and stuff so that we can let the guards know to let you in. So we showed our passports. He came in his judo gi to come escort us there, and he was like, you guys actually showed up. And I was like,
yeah, why not?
So we went to the dojo. It was really small. It was just us two and Tenkai and another guy, Thiago.
And a kid.
And
think about, like, just to paint a picture, think about like every sort of like military, like smoking a giant cigar, like, you know, America, like that's him. Like it is totally him.
He was very knowledgeable. He was very strict. Very strict, but very knowledgeable. Like, he broke down all the mistakes that we're making. It's like, your ukemi's terrible. And then after I came back, that was one of the things that I worked on, was the little things that he noticed that we didn't. And he also explained Tayotoshi in a way that kind of put it in new perspective for me. So once it came back during Randoria Dojo, I was just hitting Tayotoshis like over and over on everyone. And it's just due to that one little mechanic thing that he explained. So all in all, like, at first we were like, oh man, why did we come here, right? But then it was also expensive. It was $30 per person, 3,000 yen. And he explained all the history of judo. He has a few books on Amazon, I think, on judo, actually.
Yeah, he does.
Yeah. So he explained all that. And then we were like, well, even though it might not, it's a very different experience, but I'm still glad we went, you know? We got these little small things that helped our judo. And also we went out for food afterwards in the bar and stuff. And that was great. So
met a lot of great people. I mean, at that dojo is the only place I've ever been told to shut up. So that was great. Shut up.
Really?
But, you know, that was
I should do that at the dojo more.
I know, right? It was, I mean this, and I do mean this, even though we joke about it a lot. It's part of his charm. He's very strict. He's very, it's very military about it, honestly. You know, spoke when you're spoken to, like, you know, that sort of vibe. And, but extremely knowledgeable. And then the one thing I will say is I actually learned a lot from the trip, like little things, especially little technical things are really cool. Came back with a secret.
It sounds like you guys had a free trip out there.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
It's definitely worth it. We should do it again. Yeah.
Yes. I could see how this would be actually a lot of, this would be really good for have like a few people to come to do this. Because like the one thing that I noticed after that, you know, with this is that like Anthony caught things that I didn't catch, and then I caught things that Anthony didn't catch. And so we sort of like post these, you know, these adventures or whatever. It was like, oh, what did you get? What did I get? And there was a lot of that sort of sharing thing. And I think it really, you know, and I think that you guys have done these interviews with other people and stuff like that, which who've been to Japan too, but there's just generally a different cultural thing to it that I think it's worth experiencing. Yeah. To be in the motherland.
Well, one thing I thought was interesting about you guys' trip is that you guys went there for not recreation, but you guys went there for fun judo. Like you guys didn't go there like you're gonna go just kill people going for competition. You guys went there for fun. You guys went to a high class. You guys went to like really hard dojos. You guys went to easy dojos, some in the middle and stuff. You guys tried a bunch of things. It's not just going to Japan just to go become a better player, but go there to actually learn judo and actually have a good time out there.
Oh yeah. Yeah, like and I think that both of us, actually all three of us, are good because I think the one thing is that neither one of us takes ourselves that serious, in the sense, not that we don't take judo serious, but we don't take ourselves that serious. Like we're not that little like Portuguese punk, you know. And so like it felt equally as rewarding to be training in this like abandoned like school in Yokohama with these guys that took us to Denny's, as it did to be on like the mat of the Kodokan. Like it felt, both of those felt like they were equally important, and they were great experiences, and yeah, I would definitely do it again.
You know, something I plan to do sometime, or hopefully I want to do, but when I go, actually, I want to train at judo dojos and a couple of MMA dojos, and throw maybe a karate one in there every now and then.
I want to do some BJJ while I'm there next time, so.
Yeah.
So,
all right.
So Richard, we had a great interview with you. Is there anything that you like to plug, anything you want to talk about, you know, anything you do on the side?
No, as far as my own stuff, I mean, I feel pretty good, like with keeping it judo. And so, no, but I mean, I don't know if this is like a thing that you guys do with this, but I will definitely say, like, for anyone that maybe listens to this that is like not sure about judo or is like looking for a place, I definitely think our dojo is pretty damn cool. There's a mix of everything. There's like the serious hardcore, like, this is my life. And then there's the people that go to like do all of it. So yeah, I definitely think this is a good mix. And yeah, I don't know. That's what I think.
All right, cool. So please, everybody out there, please like, share, and subscribe. We go on the videos every 2 weeks. You can follow me at the GR81_ at the GR8_1 at Instagram. You can follow Anthony at Anthony Throws on Instagram. If you want to send us an email or message or anything, like us on our social media. You can get us on YouTube. If you have any questions, leave them also there. All right, Anthony, you got anything to say?
Should we tell people to wash their geese?
Yeah, wash your geese. We went to one. We stayed in one hostel where this whole entire floor was was geese. Like we opened the elevator and it was just a school was living there, and
rank.
Oh my God, it just like the air was terrible, and we just immediately was like close. And
I know my senses were accosted. It was literally like we were like, we need to leave this floor.
Richard, do you want to plug your Instagram or?
Sure. I mean, yeah, I'm always welcome. So yeah, you can follow me at Ozomapili, spelled OZOMAPILLI. Aside from just little judo things, I don't have much on there, but if you want to know about my life or what I do or whatever, you're more than welcome to follow me. And yeah, come do judo.
Okay. All right. Thank you. See you guys next time.
All right, everybody. Bye-bye.